Tullia et Claudia, secunda pars. In via apia sunt nautae et agricolae. Nautae Roma ad oram properant. Agricolae a cassis Romam properant. In vias Romae agricolae uvas et olivas portant. Tullia pulchras uvas videt, et annae pecuniam dat. Parvae puellae uvas pulchras, et corbulas plenas rosarum rubrarum et albarum, ad Claudiam portant. In this portion of the story, we meet other side characters whose presence shows us how the ancient Roman economy was all tied together, much as ours is today on a global scale. Everything we eat comes from somewhere. Someone grew it, someone brought it to us. And the story, of course, shows us that in a very first century way, with farmers coming to Rome with carts laden with produce, probably drawn by animals, coming to the city to sell their produce. Then they go home, and their lives intersect with the story of Tullia and her family as they're on their way to visit Claudia, and they decide to pick up a few gifts along the way. So, in this sentence, we begin with a prepositional phrase, in via apia. So notice that the word for street and the name of the street, the Appian Road, are in the ablative case, singular in number, after the preposition in. Again, when in patterns with the ablative case, it means in or on in English. So in or on a place. Then we have our main verb sunt, there are. Who is in the street? The nautae, the sailors, et the agricolae, the farmers. So we have both of these in the plural and nominative case with sunt. Nautae Roma. So now we have the sailors back in the plural and nominative once again. So we reckon that they are probably the doers of the action in the sentence. Of course, the AE ending is ambiguous. It could have other case meanings. But as we go through the rest of the sentence, we see that Roma and ad oram are modifiers. Properant is our verb, and we see that it's plural. So it seems most likely that the doers of the action here are the sailors. The sailors are hurrying. They're on their way somewhere. So we have Roma here in the ablative case. When a city, town, or small island is in the ablative case, it can mean from that place. So Roma here means from Rome. Ad oram means to the shore. So those guys are coming from the city going back to their ships. They probably had some shore leave, went to the city to enjoy themselves, spend all their money. Now they're going back to their boats. This is a good example of how in any sentence, in any language, we have the core of the sentence, which is our doer of the action, or subject, and our verb. That's the core of the sentence, nautae properant, the sailors hurry. Everything else is modification. All modification is either adjectival, that is, modifying nouns, or adverbial, that is, modifying the verb or the action of the sentence. Most prepositional phrases are adverbial modification. In other words, they're telling us where the action takes place. They're telling us in what direction the action takes place or happens. They're telling us how the action happens. So prepositional phrases like ad oram are almost always telling us about the action of the sentence. Same thing with Roma here. It has a prepositional kind of meaning. It's telling us from where, in what direction the action of the sentence takes place. But keep that in mind as our sentences get longer and more complex. But there's almost always a doer of the action or subject and a verb. And together they form the core of the sentence. Everything else is modification. Agricolae a cassis Romam properant. So now we have the farmers in the plural and nominative. They are properanting, they are hurrying, but this time they are going to Rome. In the accusative case, you can go to cities, towns, and small islands in the accusative case without a preposition. So Romam by itself means the same thing as ad plus the accusative for other kinds of places. The preposition a, let's get rid of some of this. The preposition a means the same thing as ab, away from. So casis, casis is plural and ablative case. Casis means away from their small houses. So the farmers are coming from their small houses, probably in the country, to Rome, and they are hurrying, properant. In vias Romae, agricolae uvas et olivas portant. We start again with a prepositional phrase. Here, in, the preposition in, is patterning with the accusative case. And when in patterns with the accusative, it means into. So it has the sense of motion toward something. So into the streets. Where are these streets? They are the streets of Rome. We can probably interpret Roma here as genitive, although we could possibly take it as locative. Into the streets of Rome, the farmers, the agricolae, here they are in the plural and nominative, so they're the doers of the action in our sentence. Uvas et olivas, these are both plural and accusative, so we know that they are the receivers of some action. And then at the end we get our verb portant in the plural number. So we know for sure that the agricolae, the farmers, are the doers of this action. What are the farmers doing? They're carrying, portant. What are they carrying? They're carrying uvas, grapes, et olivas, olives. So in other words, they're carrying their produce into the streets of Rome. Tullia, we know for sure that she is singular and nominative, because that short A ending can't be anything else. So Tullia is the doer of our action. We're back to the main characters in the story. They've arrived in Rome. Tullia is in her lectica. Her maids, her servants, and her daughters are walking alongside of her. So we get Tullia, doer of the action. Pulchras uvas. We hear or see these plural and accusative cases, and we know that they are the receivers of some action. So we have Tullia, we have the beautiful grapes, and then we have our verb videt. She sees. Tullia sees the beautiful grapes. Then we get the conjunction et. Because et has come after this whole complete sentence, Tullia sees the beautiful grapes, we reckon or we infer that et is probably going to connect this with a whole nother complete sentence. So we could take this portion and break it up into two sentences and just think about each sentence separately. So we get another sentence, anai pecuniam dat. So we see this AE on Anna. We know she is not the doer of the action. We know she can't be plural because Anna is a name and she's only one person. So we have two possibilities. She could be genitive or dative. Because this sentence doesn't have a nominative, it doesn't have a subject, we have to infer. When we don't have a subject, where do we get it? We usually get it from the previous sentence. So we're going to bring Tullia over here as the subject or the doer of the action in this sentence. What does Tullia do? She dots, she gives. This verb we can see is singular because of the T. So Tullia is giving something. The verb gives, dot, often patterns with the dative case. The dative case is the person to or for whom something is done or shown or given. So, Tullia gives Anna. So we can pretty much figure that Anna here is not genitive. It's going to be dative. Anna is dative case. Tullia gives something to Anna. What does she give? She gives pecuniam. Why does she give it? We can infer that she probably wants Anna to buy some of those grapes. So, let's get rid of the mess. Tullia sees the beautiful grapes, and she gives money to Anna. And in the last portion of this part of the story, we'll find out what happens to those grapes, what they're for. Now, this sentence appears to be long, but just because it's long doesn't necessarily mean that it's complex or difficult. Let's try to unfold it in the order that we hear it, rather than picking it apart. So, let's start with parwai puelai. Now, as you know, the AE ending is ambiguous. However, from context, we know that there are two girls in the story, Cornelia and Secunda. So let's infer for the moment that these are plural. If they're plural, they can only be nominative. So we have the small girls as the doers of some action. Then we hear was pulchras. Because of the os ending, we know that this has to be accusative. So these are the receivers of some action. Et corbulas plenas. So we have two more plural and accusatives. Baskets full. So we have beautiful grapes and baskets full as the receivers of some action, probably action being done by the parwai puelai. Let's wait and see whether we get a verb or more modification. Rosarum, rubrarum, et albarum. All of these have the same endings, which mean they probably go together. They are plural and genitive. Let me get rid of some of the mess here. Rosarum, rubrarum, et albarum. All three of these are plural and genitive. That ending can't be anything else. So they go together, and they are patterning with the corbulas plenas. Remember, this adjective full can pattern with the genitive case to tell you full of something. So we have corbulas plenas, baskets full of roses. What kind of roses are they? They are red and white roses. Notice that the et here is joining the two accusatives. The et here is joining these two genitive adjectives. So everything in the middle of this sentence really is the receiver of the action, something in the accusative case. Remember, the parwai puelai are the doers of the action. All of this is the action that is, or all of this in the middle of the sentence is the receiver of the action. What comes next after the doers and the receivers of action? We now get a prepositional phrase, ad Claudiam, to Claudia. Remember, ad means to, and it always patterns with the accusative case. So, to Claudia. So, we have the little girls, all of this stuff, to Claudia, and then at last we get our verb, portant, they carry. So in English, the little girls carry all of these things to Claudia. Although the sentence is long, it is really rather simple. So if we put it in a more natural English word order, we'd have parwai puelai, the little girls, portant, carry, beautiful grapes, and baskets full of red and white roses to Claudia.